Imagine writing like 2,000 words and coming to absolutely no hard conclusion. I mean, I know it happens on the regular here locally in the Star, but this is a whole new level. Headline piece here that dropped yesterday afternoon. Kansas City fears losing thousands of federal jobs. How much economic pain will follow? The conclusion is they don't know. But they took 2,000 words to get there and write a really scary piece on how it just might, possibly, could, potentially, there's a chance it may very well happen.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Yeah, that's the moral of the piece. It's 8:05. It's great to have you here on KCMO on a Thursday, and thank goodness we're not talking about snow or wind or rain today.
So we got that was woulda, coulda, shoulda
going for us today. No doubt about it.
Yeah,
it's great. Absolutely great. They write here in the Kansas City Star that Kansas City is bracing for a wave of federal job losses as President Donald Trump's administration pursues sweeping cuts. 30,000 people work for the federal government across the metro region, but thousands of jobs could eventually be lost. The IRS, Veterans Affairs, Social Security Administration, and other departments with major presences in the region are all eyeing reductions. The size and timing of those cuts will help determine the economic blast radius in Kansas City. Wow.
Oh, brother.
Oh, what fear-mongering that is. The economic blast radius. Wow. There's a new scary phrase. You mean what the impact could, potentially, might, maybe be economically? How do we make this sound really scary?
Hey, that asteroid went by the Earth the other day, and they were talking about it hitting. And they kind of did that dinosaur thing in Mexico about that one.
There's a blast radius?
Yeah. Let's use that.
Yeah, let's use that. Federal jobs, typically known for their stability, writes the Star, help the network and other positions and businesses that support them, from contractors to coffee shops. Every job eliminated inflicts more economic pain. Okay, stop right there. We have gone through a 4-year cycle here where the government was one of the largest employers of job growth in the country, and it was completely unsustainable. $2 trillion annual deficits, now $36 trillion in debt. And frankly, the administration, I believe, knowingly did that because it was the only way to make the economy look halfway decent in things like jobs reports. Now, it didn't work. They got smoked at the ballot box in 2024. If government spending that led to more government jobs was the answer to ease the economic pain of the American people, they would have rewarded the people that goosed the spending. And they didn't. They told them to go home and sit down. So this notion of, oh, man, you just watch, you're going to hurt the coffee shop that sits right outside the federal building. Well, yes, that might be impacted. It is entirely possible that might be impacted. But guess what? We have been on an unsustainable path for a long time, and we can't do it anymore. We just can't do it anymore. And it's also entirely possible that maybe now the coffee shop outside of the government building will have a chance to hire some workers because the people who got laid off from the government are going to be looking for jobs. They can go work at the coffee shop now. There you go. We've solved everybody's issues.
Boom. Right, and we had a caller point out that a reduction in staff is not equal to a reduction in services, but they're trying to equate that.
Oh, of
here.
course,
Right.
of course, because the government is the one place you can't touch. There's no way. I know in the private sector we try to be more efficient. They don't worry about that, all right? Efficiency is not in their vocabulary. There's actually a big sign outside of every federal building that says we don't talk about efficiency here. At least that's what I've heard in some places.
Well, I think we lose sight. These were probationary employees, right? So how much responsibility does the new guy get, right?
Well, that's true as well.
That, we missed the tornadoes because we fired somebody, or the guy in the flight tower there.
Yeah.
No, these were entry-level beginning people.
That's what they were. So the Star goes on to add here that they interviewed or reviewed the public remarks of more than a dozen economists, elected officials, business leaders, and others to gauge the potential risk the anticipated jobs losses pose to the Kansas City economy. Most voiced deep uncertainty over how far the cutting will go. But some fear the Trump administration's actions will flood the area with more unemployed workers than available jobs. Okay, I don't know if that's going to happen, and they're admitting they have no idea if that's going to happen. Basically, they came to the conclusion that they don't have the answer and they don't know what's going to happen. But that doesn't stop them from fear-mongering around it. First off, if you, God forbid, lose your job, and I'm not advocating for anybody to lose their job, but listen, we're on an unsustainable path, so it probably is going to happen. If you've got a discernible skill, you will be able to apply it to the private sector. I promise you. And if not, well, guess what? Then you got to figure out how to develop a skill that will be applicable in the private sector. That's your job. That's what most of the American economy is doing every single day. Developing, honing, and trying to become experts in their skills to improve their lot in life. But for some reason, when we look at it from a public worker perspective, we say, nope, you can't touch. No, do not dare to touch that. Well, why? We're having the conversations that we desperately need to be having in this country. And frankly, we haven't had in going on 30 years. And that's the fault of, yes, Democrats, but also Republicans who are whistling past the graveyard. And frankly, Trump 1.0 was whistling past the graveyard on our debt. So they're finally coming around on this. Now, what's going to happen? A lot of them are going to go to law school. Headline here in the Wall Street Journal, the competition to get into law school this year is brutal. Applications are surging as students seek stability in a difficult job market. A weakening white-collar job market, they write, and a contentious political climate are fueling interest in law school. All right, basically people delaying the real world. Because that's just what we need, too, more attorneys. Said nobody ever. You know what we're missing? We're missing lawyers around here. And I know some attorneys have tried to tell me, no, we actually do need more. Okay, maybe in certain sectors of law, but not where the money's made. It's like we were talking about with Mayor Lucas last hour. We've got enough trial attorneys in Kansas City, for the foreseeable future. I would argue we have more than we need on that front. Way more than we need. And the lawsuit culture is alive and it is well. And that's sad because everyone's looking to sue someone. And you want to talk about an underbelly of inflation, not just from a government perspective, but also a private sector perspective. The insurance industry and the lawsuit industry actually plays a big role in that. And that's something that doesn't get enough attention in the entire conversation. But you're seeing a lot of people who are just going to end up going to law school. That's what's going to happen. And there's a downside to that as well. John's in Topeka. You're on KCMO. What's up there, John?
Morning, Pete. This kind of hits home because I was talking to a guy I know really well, and he works for the federal government. And he told me, he said, if 50 people would just do their jobs, they could fire 100 people because they just keep hiring people in to do jobs. They're like, hey, you need to do your job or you're going to get in trouble. But because they don't ever get fired, they just hire somebody else in to help do the job. Then those people get lazy too. He goes, they have 3 people doing one person's job. He goes, literally 50 people just start working and they could fire 100 people. And he said that what he was doing, he decided to add to his job because the bosses were so upset with the toilets not being cleaned that he decided every morning he was going to make it his job to be a janitor. And he said that place sparkles and they're happy and they know who's cleaning it. And not only is he doing that, he's doing his job. So if the cuts come to his section, hopefully he's not going to be one of them that's cast aside because the bosses know who's doing the work.
And so you're saying the way to get job security is to clean the toilets? Is that the moral of the story here, John?
Well, that's what he seems to think. He's like, well, keep the bosses happy because they were complaining about the toilets being disgustingly dirty. So I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. If they're happy, it's job security.
Hey, you know what? You're reminding me of a story. My first radio job in Woodward, Oklahoma, I cleaned a toilet or 2 in my day. I did. There was one toilet for the radio station. For some reason, the boss hadn't brought in the cleaning people in a while. And I said, screw it. I'm going to clean this toilet. And I wasn't too proud to clean a toilet. I did what I had to do, and then I went out there and did a high school football game after scrubbing the toilet down.
I can relate. You get to your breaking point, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
I first started working at the Laser in Lawrence. They had shag carpet on the studio walls for soundproofing, right?
Yeah.
So we're running a football game, and there's nothing for me to do as the board op. You stand around. The guys announcing the game are running everything and getting the commercials going. So the boss tells me, hey, why don't you vacuum the walls here? And I laughed. I said, yeah, right. You pay somebody to do that, don't you? And he goes, yeah, you. Right. So to
That's
John's
great.
point, yeah, there's safety and hygiene there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mark, what's your toilet cleaning story? Come on, what's your low man on the totem pole story?
I actually was a janitor at my church for a while.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, so I've cleaned. That was when I was really part-time radio back in the day. Had 3-4 part-time jobs, so.
And now you're the lead singer in the band, right?
I was the lead singer in the band. Yeah. Oh, yeah, at church. Yeah.
Yeah, a church.
They propped me up there from janitor to lead singer.
Wow. Phil Wickham wannabe here, from janitor to
right.
lead singer. That's great, man. Well, hey, can't be too proud in this world, okay? I'm not sure I'd clean up these toilets based on some of the colleagues we've got in the engineering department, but if we really had to, I guess I might do it. Love you guys in the engineering department. Melissa Robinson is going to be here at 8:35, Kansas City Councilwoman. She is calling for the firing of City Manager Brian Platt. That will be a compelling conversation here coming up. And today at 12:30, J.D. Vance is going to be on KCMO, the Vice President of the United States, with Vince Colonnese. The Vince Show is in week 1. And J.D. Vance will be on with him at 12:35 today. So do not miss that on KCMO. I'm not sure it'd be the best radio segment, but based on the text line, it seems like we could probably do a segment or even an hour on people's bathroom cleaning stories at the office. A lot of folks are in on the conversation. This is impressive stuff. Pete, started my career working at the age of 14 as a janitor in an elementary school. I know all about cleaning toilets. All right. Well, you know what? Any advice you've got, you just pass it on. Pete, in basic training, I came out with a master's in janitorial services. Well done. I could shine a brass drain cover to look like a mirror. Cleaning a toilet ain't so bad. So a lot of folks are getting in and going down memory lane on cleaning toilets. Hey, for the federal workforce, if you lose a job, I mean, I'm sure the coffee shop next to the federal building would take you as a toilet cleaner. Just an option for you. That's all. Trying to help out. But we are on an unsustainable path. It doesn't work anymore to keep spending money we don't have to hire a bloated federal workforce to prop up the economy, because guess what? Eventually, you run out of other people's money. And that happened a long time ago in this country. Now, Elon Musk is taking the brunt of all of this, right? Elon is getting all the drama. And as a result, indirectly, Tesla owners are getting flack for no reason other than owning a Tesla, which made you virtuous as recently as what? 12 months ago? No more. In fact, get this, there's a website called DogeQuest that has been created to dox Tesla owners nationwide. That's right. Protests against Doge and Elon Musk are spreading across the country, writes The Independent. A website called DogeQuest has reportedly published the personal details of Tesla owners, leading to concerns about privacy and safety. Oh, you don't say. The site reveals the names, addresses, and phone numbers of Tesla owners on an interactive map and uses an image of a Molotov cocktail as a cursor. The operators of the site have stated that they will only remove the information of Tesla owners who prove they have sold their cars. How does Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, not get on this immediately? And call this out for the domestic terrorism that it is. She rightly called what's happening at these Tesla dealerships domestic terrorism in a statement yesterday, whether it's Vegas or here in Kansas City. And there's a bunch of these Tesla dealerships that have had issues and had cars just magically light up on fire over the last few days, including the 2 Cybertrucks right off State Line Road. this too is domestic terrorism. And think about this. I would argue, most Tesla owners, if not a large percentage of Tesla owners, are not diehard MAGA Trump people. They're not. And that doesn't matter. The point is, these people are eating their own. There is a potential for this to be one of those awakening moments for people. We've had these over the last few years, right? Where you've seen people who are, on the left side or left to center suddenly have this moment, this red pill moment, as it gets called, where they're like, wait, I don't believe in any of this. Sometimes it takes themselves to be the target of some kind of crazy rally or some kind of crazy protest, like, businesses down on the plaza in 2020 who were probably lifelong Democrats and suddenly said, wait, hold on, you guys are going to burn down my business potentially? You're going to throw rocks through my front window over George Floyd, and somehow that's going to help your cause of social justice and racial equality? That's insane. That's nuts.
You get caught in that circular firing squad.
Yeah. And suddenly you're like, wait, I don't believe any of this. So there's a potential for that red pill moment to happen with Tesla owners where they say, hold on, I bought this car to be environmentally friendly. I bought this car to be a good citizen, and I like the car. And now I'm getting flipped off at stoplights by lunatics, and I'm pulling in for a service call at my Tesla dealer. And, I got some guy like this guy that went viral. I shared it on X earlier this morning. He literally stuck his hand in his rear end and wiped himself on a Cybertruck. Mr. Fister, as we're calling him, you can see the video from a parking lot. He walks up to a Cybertruck, fists himself, and wipes it on the front of the car. It's disgusting. And if you are somebody who may agree with that person politically in the traditional sense, how do you not sit there and say to yourself, yeah, I'm out. I'm done.
He's a nut job.
That's disgusting. I'm not doing this. But that's what's happening. Take a listen to The Daily Show last night.
Jim, they're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson targeting Teslas and Cybertrucks.
This dramatic video shows multiple cars in flames. Police say the attacker used Molotov cocktails. It's the latest in more than a dozen instances of arson and vandalism targeting Tesla.
The same suspect shot more Teslas with a gun. Tesla Cybertrucks were set on fire in Kansas City, and earlier this month, shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Cybertrucks on fire in Seattle.
Wow, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh? Yeah.
Even the host was like, wait, you guys are cheering on domestic terrorism? Like, you're kind of sick. You're kind of twisted. And they mentioned the Kansas City fires, and the crowd's like, yeah, woo, let's go. This is great. This is fantastic. If that can't wake you up, I don't know what will.